Hello, wonderful people of AimHi. My name is Josh, and I'm really excited to be with you all today. We're going to do a wonderful amount of some high school biology. I'm hoping you're all as excited as I am to get on with some lovely bits and bobs. We're going to continue from what we were doing last week, which is on looking at hormones, the nerves, and today we're going to look at this idea of the survival instinct. Hopefully you can see this incredible timetable that we've got going. Hello, OMHNPH, lovely to see you. Got a lovely timetable just for the rest of this week for you guys to have a look at. But whilst people are logging in, and whilst we're getting to that wonderful 1:45 start time for this amazing AimHi stream, I've got a bit of a question for you all. Oh, great to see you, Dorian Hyde 136. If, let's say, you had gone to a castle and you were trying to escape this castle because you went to it and, well, you shouldn't have been there for whatever reason. But on the way out, there are loads of traps and things, and you've navigated through this castle, but you come to the last choice. And your last choice is 3 doors ahead of you. You open each one, and behind door number 1 is a room full of flesh-eating beetles. Huge amount of flesh-eating beetles. Human flesh, they're going to go for you, and they're crawling around the floor. Number 2, there's a long room with oil on the floor and all over the walls, and it's just burning, just fire everywhere. And the 3rd is a room where there are 20 tigers, all of which haven't eaten for about 3 weeks. Which room would you go through to escape, and why? So whilst you have a little think of that, I'm going to see what's been going on in the chat. We've got Angel37373 is saying that 3 and 7 are their lucky numbers. Kept alternating until it didn't say username. Fabulous. It was then on a one week between episodes last week. I could not make it, unfortunately. I'm really glad that I'm back now. I've got our Mondays weekly slots. Let's keep going, have a look through. Ooh, cool. Okay, yeah, we've got some ideas. It's from the Money movie, if I remember correctly. So people think tigers, people think beetles, because you can run faster than the beetles. 3, because they'd be dead. Really nice ideas. Now, a lot of students, a lot of people watching now have really clocked onto this idea that, yeah, if you were to go into this room full of tigers that haven't eaten for 3 weeks, they would be either very dead or incredibly weakened. So this would be the correct option to go through, absolutely. They, irrelevant of how hungry they are, they don't have those survivals to stay for that 3 weeks. I read up recently that the Bengal tiger will survive for about 2 weeks without food, and then they'll eat a huge amount. That 3rd week, they'll really lose a lot of their power. So yeah, good to the people that have managed that so well. Oh, good. Really nice work. Let's keep going. Now, just to remind you of where we are on the course, we've already done a little bit on homeostasis. We've looked at the human nervous system. Today, we're going to be looking at reflex actions and see how far we can get with that. Now, just to remind, if anyone is learning this because they want to do it for some sort of schoolwork or something like that, and they don't have access to that where they are, make sure you've got like a Word document or Google Docs or Apple Pages, a pen and paper, just to make sure you can get some of the key stuff here down. If not, have a listen in and really enjoy. I'm looking forward to it. As a general recap of the last few sessions that we've done, we first looked at this idea of stimulus moving to response. So if there is if you have something that is stimulating you, for example, heat, right? If something hot is going on outside, then your skin is going to receive that information. Your skin is going to clock that things around you are hot. Your brain, there's a part of the brain which is going to say, right, we need to cool down. It's getting too hot, and it's going to make, for example, you do different things. It might make your muscles have an effect to say you move to a cooler place, but the majority of things that's going to happen is you're going to start sweating, right? There's going to be, in your skin, there are these glands. There are glands in your skin that release this sweat, and so your response is going to be to sweat and to cool down. If we learnt about this journey, we're going to come back to this today in a slightly different in a slightly different way. We then looked at the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is inclusive of the brain, and the spinal cord is incredibly important. If you damage your central nervous system, that can cause quite a lot of major problems. And then your peripheral nervous system, which is all of the nerves and all of the connections from around your wider body. So for example, here if you were to feel something on your finger, that would go up your peripheral nervous system, connect to your spinal cord, and then go up to your brain, and you clock, oh, I felt something, I felt a thing. We then looked a bit into the type of nerves that are able to do it. We've got these sensory neurons and these motor neurons, okay? So the sensory neurons, they're in charge of sending information from the receptor to the coordination center. From the receptor to the coordination center. So for example, if I were going to touch something with my fingers, it would be the sensory neurons that send information to the brain. And if the brain was like, oh, we should do something about that, it would send information via the motor neurons to the parts of the bodies that would make a response. So for example, the muscles. So maybe you feel something that's really nice and soft and you just want to cuddle up next to it. Your brain might be like, oh, I want to cuddle up next to this, and you kind of like start going in from there. Now it seems that quite a few people are saying that I'm freezing quite a lot. Can anyone tell me if I am not freezing? That'd be interesting. Or if it's my internet or your internet or both internets. I wonder what it is. It seems that OMH, NPH is okay. White Panda Fox is twice. Should I, did anyone, you're okay for my other people not freezing? Okay, fine. I'm going to move on from a time perspective, but if you have any questions at the end, you're welcome to ask if you've missed any of this. But the three things we've looked at so far is that we have this flow of how our body responds to different stimuli. It is, I just phrased, oh, it's pretty interesting. If it's for lots of freezing for other people, maybe it's my internet. I don't actually know. Who knows? I guess I'll continue. I haven't received any other information. We'll see what goes on. We have our brain and our spinal cord and our nerves all around it. They are in charge of what's passing this information around our body, and the nerves, the sensory neurons and the motor neurons, those are in charge of actually sending and receiving that information. Really cool stuff. Now, the question I want to ask is, what is a reflex? Now, this GIF is particularly excellent, and I think really beautifully shows what a reflex is and the point of it, right? So, what's a reflex? What's the point of it? Can you all please type something in? Tell me all about what you think. What is a reflex? What is the point of it? Based on what we've got here. To protect the body from future harm. I love that. So that's really good. So we've got this idea of protection from harm. Excellent work. Reflexes are reactions to stimuli that are usually automatic and instantaneous and protect you from potential threat. I love that. We've got that reflexes are instant and automatic. So we've got the protection from harm that are instant and automatic. So you don't have control over these. It protects you when something happens and has a knock-on effect. Brilliant. So everyone looking at this man here, this reaction, this person is clearly something is shocking him. Something is making him make all of these incredible movements and loud noises. But how is that protecting him? Well, you know, if this was an actual threat, if there was something that was going to hurt him, then him making lots of noise and making loads of movements would hopefully scare the thing away that is scaring that person and protect you from harm. Instantly responding. I'm sorry if I'm scaring you all by me shouting. I apologise amazingly, but there's other aspects of what a reflex is. This is a really beautiful, old study where a scientist would look at babies and make different faces. Would anyone like to give a conclusion based from what you see from here? What you see from here, from these results. What do you think the results are showing regarding reflexes and babies? Good, that Ms. Babies imitate. Amazing. We've got this idea of imitation. Got this idea of imitation. So yeah, this baby here, you know, sticking the tongue out the same, opening the mouths, making a kind of sort of, I don't know, is it called the duck face, the social media duck face? Took a selfie. But yes, absolutely, we've got this idea that there's imitation. But I mean, these babies, they're not. Yes, the baby is copying him. Now, the babies aren't actually doing this on purpose. This is what's mind-blowing about babies. That the babies aren't doing this. They're not thinking, oh, I'm going to imitate this person's face. Their body, their faces do this automatically. It's an automatic response and reflex. And can someone tell me why? Why is that such a great thing for human babies to be able to do, to imitate the people around them? Yeah, I thought that the GIF might be a little bit difficult to distract, to be a bit of a distraction, so I might just do this for a second, just so it pauses, allows. Ah, brilliant, we've got this idea of learning facial expressions. I love that. Any other ideas? This probably isn't related, but I know the doctors check babies' reflex by putting a pen in their foot to see if their tail's curly. That's an exact response to what we're talking about. That's a reflex. The baby doesn't do that automatically. Yes, amazing. Angel helps them learn social cues, mirrors to blend in. Good, we've got this idea of ultimately babies. They want to be a part of their family. You know, it's clever for the babies to imitate their surroundings and people so that the people around them ultimately think that they're brilliant, right, and want to continue being a part of it. It's them sort of gaining that connection with the people around them, and it's social integration. I love that. Now, I've got this little test that is a real test that used to have, and I'm really interested to see what you all have to say. Oh, it seems I'm being quite loud. I'm going to try and maybe quieten myself down. I get very excited about this kind of stuff. But what you're about to see is two images, one on the left and one on the right. They're very similar, apart from one difference. I want you to stare at the X that you can see there on the screen. Stare at the X there on the screen. And as soon as I hit next, they're going to come up. And I want you to just very quickly look at one or the other. Let your eyes naturally look left or right. It's fine, whatever. Try not to think of that you prefer left or right or something like that. But if you're ready, we're going to try this experiment to see if you have the same idea, okay? So stare at the cross, and in 5 seconds I'm going to click next, and there'll be an image from the left and to the right, and I want your eyes to naturally go left or right, and then we're going to do a straw poll to see which of you looked at what, that one on the left or one on the right. There should be a clear result. Let's see what happens, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Just take a look at one or the other. Just remember, which one did you look at first? Was it the one on the left or the one on the right? I'm now going to post this straw poll. I mean, you don't have to have much time on this, but I'm going to post this straw poll here. I'd love you all to tell me which of the ones you decided to do. So your eyes went cross-eyed. That's all right. That's all right. We've got one person on the left so far. Jumped back and forth to see if you can remember which one you saw first, the one on the left or the right, just which one was left. So if put it on the straw poll, we've got 2 for the left so far. We've got 1 for the right, 2 for the left. Brilliant. So that's really interesting. Which one was which there? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, we've got 2 to 2. If you're writing it in the chat, that's great, but I'd love to see it as a poll as well. We've got White Panda Foxes done to the left, Dorian Hyde on the left. Oh, it won't let you vote for some reason. How strange. I don't know why, but you think the right as well. Interesting. So there should be a way. We've got 5 people, 4 for the left, 2 to the right. It's really interesting. A few people more on the chat saying that they went to the right instead. Wow, that's really interesting. Now, I'm going to come to the results of this. Now, this experiment was done by this man, Robert L. Fantz, in 1963, and he brought this image and he showed it to newborn babies, right? Newborn babies, babies that literally, this is one of the first things they've ever seen in their life. And the results were that the babies took more time looking at, so they were showing this image of both of them, and they generally stared more so at the one on the right. Does anyone think they can tell me why? Why would the one on the right hold the baby's attentions more So it actually was this one that babies looked at for a larger amount of time than this on the left. This was natural because Mears, it looks like a face, absolutely. That means that from birth, we as humans have a natural, excellent work orientation of the eyes and mouth. We have a natural reflex, an automatic ability to look at faces, and that's kind of what it looked like there. That was the idea, and babies want to look at faces because the face is that connectivity to the person's emotion. Now we're going to look a little bit about the difference between voluntary actions and reflex actions, and then do a bit of a game. We'll see what we can get through. So, the idea of a voluntary action is when there is a feeling, there is a stimulation. For example, you feel something lovely and furry. So I'll just do this as a nice little bit of fur. Lovely, nice and furry. You want to touch it because it's all nice and furry. That information goes up to the brain, and then the brain goes, yes, that is something furry that I'd like to stroke. And it goes down to the muscles, and then we have the response there, okay? So, just as we've seen before, we have this stimulus of something, for example, furry, right? We've got the receptor, which in this case is the skin. The brain thinks about what to do, so it processes it. Processes. Is this something furry that we want to touch? Is something furry that may be a bit disgusting or something along those lines? And there's the effector, which is the muscles. And then the response maybe is either to stroke it or maybe not to stroke it, whatever it is. This is an example that I have, right? That's a voluntary action. Our brain has the time to think, oh, what am I going to do with this? But a reflex action is slightly more different. A reflex action is slightly more different. A reflex action, as we've said before, is about protection. It's about making sure you don't don't have harm caused to you. And therefore, it needs to be incredibly quick, very quick. It doesn't use the brain. You aren't aware of it happening. It's really important that it needs to be quick. So this would be the journey. Let's say, for argument's sake, there is a flame. Hopefully, you might recognize a nice little candle here. And you put your hand over it by mistake. And you didn't know you were going to do that. And what happens is, incredibly quickly, the blink of an eye, we have information going up. And this time, it only goes to the spinal cord before going back to the muscle. It does not, to begin with, it doesn't go to the brain. Okay, it does not go to the brain. So in this case, we have our stimulus, which would be the heat of the candle flame, our receptor, which is our skin. It then goes to this thing called a relay neuron, which is the third and final neuron to know about. In your spine, in your spinal cord. That is our coordination center. It then goes to our effectors, which is our muscles, and then the response is to move away. Okay, this is incredibly important that this doesn't go to the brain, because what you don't want is to have your hand over the thing that could cause damage, for example, and then it takes time to go up your arm to the spine, up to the brain. Your brain then goes, that's kind of hot. Maybe we should move away from it. And then go down to your muscle to move away. That process, obviously I've elongated that. It wouldn't take exactly that long, but that extra step of going to the brain to coordinate it and back down again would add time. And we want our bodies to respond quickly as we possibly can. Okay, we really want to be able to. So can you suppress reflexes? It is possible for people to suppress reflexes. It's possible for you to take active action to kind of change the way your body responds to things, which is really cool. But for most people, this is how it is. So yeah, it would take a fraction of a second. I like that, yes, that voice was your brain speaking. I hope all of your brains speak in the same way as mine. But same idea. We've got this journey of the heat, so something like heat, going to the skin. It's then sent by the sensory neuron to the spinal cord, where there's this thing called a relay neuron. That then sends via the motor back to the muscles, and that thing responds quickly. Now, we're going to do a bit of a reaction time practical with all of us. What I'm going to do is, this is going to be the first one, is I'm going to give you a response. This is knee-jerk, the knee-jerk reaction. The idea that if you have your legs crossed and you hit your knee, your leg will kind of jerk outwards. And I want you to tell me whether you think that's a reflex or a voluntary action. Now, for speed's sake, all I need you to do is write the letter R or V. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a 3-second timer, 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to go to the next one. And I'd like you to, as quickly as you can, tell me if you think this is reflex or voluntary. Already, Xenon, Angel, and Dorian Hyde have answered the first one brilliantly, which is this is a reflex. So this is the knee jerk, which is a reflex. You don't think about it. But get ready. The next one's going to come up, either the letter R or the letter V, sorry, letter R, letter V. Then hit that enter really quickly. I know that there's going to be some lag because of internet connections, but I thought this would be quite fun. So here we go. Here's the next one. It's going to come up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have removing the hand from hot water. What we got? What we got? Xenon straight in there with R. Mia's with R. We've got Angel with R. Well done. I think, Xenon, you have won that round. Definitely. But yes, removing the hand from hot water. I'm just going to write hand and hot water. And I'm going to put an X for Xenon, who got that one. Really, really well done. Right, let's reset. Let's reset. Take it out. Kind of do a little stretch. Do a little bit of a boogie. Here's the next one. Here we go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Bam! Coughing. Wow, OMH, NPH has smashed it with being that reflex to begin with. Coughing is indeed a reflex. Now, obviously, you can cough. You can cough if you wanted to, and that's going to be an O for OMH. NPH. You can cough if you want to voluntarily, but usually speaking, you don't think about coughing, you just kind of cough because something's there. Right, the next one, here we go. So you have to scroll before you can type. Oh no, well, Angel, you can definitely get involved anyway, but here we go. 3, 2, 1. Sneezing. Let's see what goes on. Who's got it? Who's got it? Xenon with V? Xenon with R. Okay, what do we think? Xenon's kind of gone for one or the other. Angel's gone for a solid R. White Panda Fox thinks a V. Mears thinks an R. Dorian Hyde thinks an R. The answer is definitely reflex, is sneezing. Definitely reflex. What I'm going to do for my own speed sake, I'm just going to put an R there. And this one I'm going to say is Xenon's again. He's very quick at this. They are smashing this. Really, really well done. The next, we're going to come up with 2 more now. So I need 2 letters separately. So we're going to have, for example, if it's reflex, you do R, comma, R. If it's voluntary, you do V, comma, V. If you think it's reflex, then voluntary, then R, comma, V. Here we go. We have laughing at a bad joke, laughing at a good joke, and blinking. What do you think? What do you think? Are they reflexes or are they voluntary? Xenon thinks that laughing at a good joke is voluntary, blinking is reflex. Angel thinks both of them are reflex. White Panda just sneezed and realised it was reflex. Good. We've got Dorian Hyde with VR. We've got a number of different responses. The answer is actually Angel's 37373 because they are both reflexes. If someone makes you laugh, you don't think, was that funny? Yes, I think it's funny. Ha-ha! You just laugh, you just go for it. And blinking, you know to be a reflex. Right, we're going to do another 2. Here we go. This is actually going to be another 3. We're going to pick up the pace. Pick up 3. So here's another 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Bam, bam, bam. Driving, shivering, and eating. So this was Angel's there. Driving, shivering, eating. Who can get the correct? 3 letters. 3 letters I'm wanting. VRV. Xenon's gone for driving is voluntary, shivering is reflex, and eating is voluntary. Angel's got VRV as well. Mia's got VRV. Dorian Hyde thinks RRV. So we've got reflex of driving, reflex of shivering, and voluntary of eating. Really interesting. VRR says White Panda, but we've got voluntary, driving, shivering, and eating are both reflexes. Now, driving is a really interesting one. Driving's a really interesting one. For the majority of people in the world, Yes, there's aspects of driving that you can do without really thinking, but driving, generally speaking, is a voluntary action. You actively think about driving and turning the handle when you're turning left. Yes, as Mears has said, if something bad's about to happen, you will reflex, but the general journey of driving is voluntary. Shivering is definitely reflex, and eating is also voluntary. So well done to Xenon, who got that first VRV. We do the final three. The final three. Here we go. This is it. Last bit of today. 3, 2, 1. Bam, bam, bam. Baby hand gripping, talking, and running. So sometimes with babies, if you put something in their hands, they will grip it. Talking and running. VRV, VVR, VVVR, whatever you think. RVR, we've got reflex, voluntary, reflex. We've got reflex for all three of them, White Panda Fox. We've got reflex, voluntary, reflex with Dorian Hyde. We've got reflex, voluntary, voluntary, says Xenon. What's up, baby? Has voluntary, voluntary, voluntary. So interesting, right. Here we go. Baby hand gripping is reflex. I don't think about it. When you're talking, it's generally voluntary. And when you're running, generally speaking, you're running voluntarily. You don't often run away from terrifying things. You're completely right to everyone who says, depending on the situation, if you're running away from something scary, that would be somewhat reflex. But we're talking generally speaking what's going on there. So really well done to everyone that did incredibly well with that. Now, the final question I want to ask, because of the time that we've got today, the final question I want to ask today, and I'd love to hear what students have to say, I've kind of a bit of a debate with this, suggest what would happen if some of the reflex actions were no longer a reflex and you had to control them. Right, so let's say some of these you didn't do automatically. So we've got the knee jerk, removing hand from water, coughing, sneezing, laughing, blinking, got shivering, baby hand gripping, all of those. What would happen if you had to control them instead of them happening automatically? Now, the fight or flight reflex, exactly, you're talking exactly correct. That is something that is a fight or flight. Generally speaking, though, when talking about running, you would run automatically, but you're completely right. If there's something going on that is to do with fight or flight, that's completely reflex. It just happens automatically. So how do we know that baby's gripping is a reflex? What if babies are curious to see things feel? Such a good question. Now the reason for that is because babies, even when they're sleeping, they could be sleeping with their hands out. If you put something just in their hands, they will grip it, just naturally will grip that thing. It's really amazing. I've had 3 nieces and a nephew, and I've tested it on all of them just for the banter, and absolutely it works every single time. And yes, absolutely, Mia. So you get injured a lot more, different things can injure you. If you would forget to breathe. Yes, breathing isn't something you think about, and sometimes you can think about it for those who are maybe more zen. They do some lovely meditations with slow breathing. That's very much controlling your breathing, but usually speaking you don't. If you forget, then ultimately things can go wrong. Blinking can be stopped, but you'd fry your eyes. They would dry out. You blink to hydrate your eyes. Great ideas. A lot more work and you'd probably get injured. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You'd probably get injured. What if you had to, like, think about sneezing? Like, every so often you sneeze naturally, but what if you had to think of that? We'd get hurt and our body would suffer and wouldn't function to our best interest. Lovely. There is a curse where you must think to breathe. Well, it's called a curse. I mean, that would be... I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I'm terrible. I learn about child psych at uni and then test it harmlessly when I get home. My niece and nephew, poor kids. Yes, yes, yes. I do exactly the same, Angel. It's so true. It's really, really brilliant. But yeah, there's this... Ultimately, our reflexes are there to help us, to make us healthy. What about laughing at a good joke? Because is that about staying healthy? That's the last one I really want to focus on. Laughing at a good joke is a really interesting one because it's not about keeping our bodies safe. Laughing is good for mental health. Good, yes, it is definitely good for your personal mental health. But why? What's the point of laughing? Why would we oh golly, why would laughing be something that is, generally speaking, laughing is good for you, it's about staying healthy. It's about staying healthy if the person saying the joke is frightening. Interesting. So laughing. So I'm going to finish with this. Does laughing produce any hormones that are necessary? Brilliant idea. Now there are certain. So it's not a hormone. It's a really amazing thing called an endorphin, right? An endorphin. Right, an endorphin. So for example, dopamine and serotonin, it helps your body stay happy and positive. But it's also this idea of making other people happy. If someone if someone says something and it makes you laugh, you have this response, then that person sees that you are connecting with them. There's that social connection. Because a really interesting endorphin that's released is called oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is one of my favourite hormones, one of my favourite endorphins, because it's the hormone, the endorphin, that releases in your body when you want to feel a connection with someone. So any time that you give your friend a big, nice cuddle, oxytocin is being released and you and that person will be connecting, right? It's this lovely connection. You feel oxytocin, for example, when the first time, if anyone here has held hands with someone they really fancy, that first time you might have done that, you have no idea how much oxytocin will have just been flooding your body from that. It is incredible. And it's the same idea with laughing laughing with other people in that social space. It's released to show that connection. It's really cool. When you exercise, also releases endorphins, brilliant. Singing, good. Oh, this is amazing. Anyway, it's absolutely lovely to have spoken with you all today. Next week, Monday, we're going to look a little bit more at this, the actual reflex action, go a bit further into this, and then looking at this amazing thing called the synapse, which is what passes the information from one nerve to the other. But it was a pleasure to hang out with you guys today. I hope you are all brilliant and keep yourselves nice and healthy and happy and laughing and positive even during this difficult time. All the best. Great to see you all. Bye-bye.